Hello, and welcome again to GigaOm Live. I'm your host, Johnny Baltisberger. I am joined today by analyst Enrico Signoretti, and just Enrico Signoretti. Um, Halfway across the world and still working with me, still hanging in strong, despite exhaustion, because we worked together yesterday on a webinar and our continue work together today on various reports.
Yeah, but
Uh,
this is the last day because I will be on vacation starting later today. So for
oh
one
my
week, from full week, yes.
friends, I have to tell you, I'm jealous. I remember the days of vacations before I was in production. Um, that's not true. I was a restaurant guy and a retail guy before that. So I've never vacations were never a thing I got to do. Um, but we're not here to talk about my work experience. We're here to talk about technology. This is GigaOm Live, as I mentioned. This is a show where we talk about tech news and what's going on in the technology industry. Like I said, today we're just joined by Enrico. Jason, I believe, is at a conference somewhere in the Midwest, so he couldn't
In the
join us
middle of the
today.
wow, looking at what is said, no Wi-Fi and
Yeah,
no 4G,
yeah,
not
he,
5G,
you
4G,
know,
and
that's what he says, but I'm betting he's trying to build some kind of supercomputer from tinfoil. Um, So this is a live show. If you'd like to ask us any questions or make any comments, feel free to do that, and we'll get to it. This is going to be a short episode because it's just me and Enrico. Last week we tried to fill some space talking about GigaOm research. We're going to not do that this time because Enrico told me I was too droll and boring. If you can believe that, I think I'm very engaging. Um,
yeah, you are, but actually,
but we do have something to talk about today. Specifically, I want to make sure I get it right. We're going to be talking about Cloud Field Day. Yes, Cloud Field
yeah,
Day.
Cloudfield Day. I mean, we. So I was attending Cloudfield Day. It started a couple of days ago. Today we will have the last day, and all in all, it was a great show. Uh, like all the times, I mean, nothing new here. And we met several companies, including Morpheus, Pliops, Zerto, and Genix, Azelcast, and we will have and Minayo, and then we'll have a few more today, later today, including Intel and Kasten. So I'm looking forward to it. And in these 2 days, we had a bunch of interesting updates. One was, for example, from Zerto. They presented a new iteration of their technology that is designed to work with cloud in mind to do replication between AWS regions. And I mean, what I thought is it's a little bit weird because if you start a new project in the cloud, you plan for all of this, so disaster recovery, migrations, stuff like that. But actually, I meet every day users that have some parts of their infrastructure that are just there, and they migrated that with a sort of lift and shift migration. So they took what they had in on premises and they move it to the cloud. There are several reasons to do that. I mean, many of the reasons is that you are not planning to refactor the application because it's too expensive, and you're planning to maybe do something different in the near future, so that you move this workload as is. Maybe it's not even a big one, so you can afford to pay all the uh, you know all the additional inefficiencies that this kind of workload can bring to the cloud, but then you have to protect it in the right way. And Zerto offers this kind of functionality. So, as usual, a new technology designed to work also in the cloud, so to do all this special stuff, but also, looking at the past and looking and giving options to enterprises to make their life easier. So I think that one was pretty cool. And then we had a very interesting session with Plyops. Uh, Plyops is one of these accelerators. I mean, and we talk about accelerators all the time lately. I actually have a new research that I'm doing right now about accelerators in the data center, specifically DPUs, data processing units. And so I will talk even more in the future. I wrote several blogs for GigaOm around this topic. And Plyops, it's a very simple solution on paper. So they just they have this card. You put the disk like the card into your PCI bus to connect it with your SSD drives and VME based drives, and add additional features to the drive, including a key value store. So you can offload some of the functionality of databases directly to the card. So you improve performance, but also reliability of these devices and efficiency and a few other things. So in the end, you can have a much more efficient data center built out of commodity companies like you are used to do, but actually way denser and much more resilient that you could do with a traditional way. So another startup that is worth a look from my point of view. And then there are other things, but actually I think that these two were really cool to mention.
Now, you mentioned Zerto there, and that caught my attention because Zerto is a vendor who has appeared on various radar reports.
Yeah.
That's just an example. Um, Obviously, when we do a radar report, we're looking at all of the vendors in a specific well, as many vendors as we can that are relevant to a given space. But how often when you're at a cloud tech day or any of these field tech days, do you feel that you need to you know, when you say, "Oh, this is changed," or "Oh, that changes what I thought before," I should schedule a briefing so I can talk to them and see if I need to recalibrate where they were, say, in radar, or this is going to change this space and we're going to have to write an entirely new report now.
Well, I have to be honest. So all these vendors brief me quite often during the year. So my agenda is full of briefings every week, and so I'm quite updated with the latest from this company. The difference that there is between what I hear from them on a regular basis and what happens at the Cloudfield Day is the interaction. Okay, so there are many more people during these events, and everybody has personal opinions, personal different experiences in the field, and so on. So all the conversation that comes out of it is really interesting because you get different point of views and not only mine or not only what I get from their users because I have my observatory which is made of people that I really know that work in the field, so they can trust, like real users, clients, GigaOm clients, etc., etc. So when we speak, it's a very open kind of conversation, and then there are vendors. Case histories or vendors bring you some of their users, and some of them you you can feel that it's not a totally. I mean, it's like sometimes it's like talking with a fanboy. Okay, so they don't have the perception of or they found the perfect use case for the product, but it's not always the best way to get the feeling on how the product works. So when when I am at Cloudfield Day, I got several different people on the same conversation, and you can see what if something is weird, if something should be asked more thoroughly, or anything, because there is also back channel where we keep the conversation going to see they are going to demonstrate this. I saw this in the field, it's very good features, but it missed this and this, and you see that somebody asked exactly the same about this feature and how it works, just to see if it is improved or not, or there is a workaround or things like that. So it's very positive because you get more, and in a different way, I think. And that's the real value for me. I mean, it's not that I meet so many different companies that I wouldn't meet on my day to day job. It's just that the conversation is different. Also, for example, the conversation we had with Minayo um, in the same event. Uh, they have a great product. I mean, they performed very well both in my radar for enterprise workload and the one for the fast object stores. And when you see they confronted with other other people, and everybody has a bias in ABS in some way. So they tested different technology, they have different opinions, and again, you see how they react, what is their um, uh, you know what mostly their reaction and how they answer to tough questions, and it's very cool.
So, analysts such as yourself have a wide variety of personalities, lots of different specialties, opinions, all of that. Enrico, you have been called the Tony Stark of data storage analysts, just now by
Really.
me. Uh,
Ah.
um, do you have a Justin Hammer? Is there another data storage analyst that you've seen? You're like, this guy wouldn't know backup if it ran up his back end.
So
Is there analyst drama? I guess is what I'm asking.
no, no, I don't know what to say. I mean, it's first of all, thank you for the Tony Stark of no, but in general, I mean, the a lot of what I do in every day is about common sense. Okay, so I try to listen to as many people as I can, both users and vendors, and people that really use the technology, and connect the dots. And this is the most important part of the job, so connecting the dots. So if you see that many people mention the same kind of problem or the same kind of need, then you start asking, what are you doing with about this these needs that users have, and you can understand what is happening from the roadmaps point of view, if they are really doing something about that, or it's just they are sometimes they cheat. I mean, they say they are doing something, but actually you can see that it's not happening, and things like that. So it's really about common sense and discovering if the vendors are really executing on the needs and the strategies of the users in the end. So when I see other analysts, I think that it's not always the case, but actually I feel that there are analysts that are really like me, former practitioners, so people that can understand the technology at a very low level, in detail, and others that are more high level. Okay, so maybe they see the big picture, but the fact that they don't talk with people on on their hands in the mud. I mean, doing the real stuff. That's a real problem. I mean, fit in the ground kind of IT and grand vision about numbers and things that are not the reality, are not there. So maybe I answered in a very weird way your question, but
No,
actually,
it's fantastic. You know, you didn't call anyone out. Very professional of you. But you know, you talked about the way you as an analyst look at things, and you know, maybe some pros and cons of how you know people approach the industry. I want to ask one more question, and then we'll kind of leave it at that. Now, this is again, I always look to make sure it's cloud field day.
yeah,
Um, you've worked in data storage for many years. Um, how this is partially a question about terminology, right? Because when you're storing something in the cloud, what you're doing is you're storing it off-prem, right? You're storing it.
yeah,
It's stored somewhere, a physical location. It's just not at your house or your office or your data center, is my understanding.
mm-hmm.
How has the you know the verbiage and the technology grown and changed from being hardware, you know, personal hardware that you needed to being outsourcing, essentially outsourcing that hardware to a third party?
Well, we are still in a transition. Okay, so you can see it everywhere. I mean, we spent the last 5 years talking about cloud. Everything is going to the cloud and things like that. Okay, so we are moving to this idea that is, so the storage, data storage is a commodity, for example, and what is really important is the service that you can get both from your storage and then from the um, from the cloud provider. Okay, so we are talking about very high level features, data management. So it's the storage that makes the difference. It's the because now we have plenty of CPU power, hyper mega speedier flash drives, whatever you want, and networks are incredibly fast. So you can theoretically do whatever you want. The problem is make it work in a seamless way. And for years we thought about the fact that everything was going, not me, but everything was going to the cloud and be there because it's just easier. But now that we discovered that cloud is also expensive and not everything could stay in the cloud, and we have this hybrid cloud and multi-cloud. So you want to cherry picking services and type of instances and everything that is related to what you want to do at this point. So in the multi-cloud strategy, data in general remains a huge problem because it's very expensive to move data around. It's very expensive to access data remotely. And when I talk about expensive, I talk about expensive in multiple ways: latency, costs for storing or duplicating data, moving data, etc., etc. So the idea is that all the conversation is changing because we need hybrid cloud. So not there is no perfect location. There is a perfect location for the specific workload of data in that particular moment in time. Okay. So for example, you can start something in the cloud because it takes less time than in on premises, and then you can develop in the cloud and you can make it work in the cloud because you don't know yet how successful will be this service. Maybe it will be just 10 users, maybe 100, maybe 1 million. Okay, then when everything settles down, I mean, you have a very predictable growth, for example, or a stable growth or a negative growth. Then you can decide, well, I want to move back this service to my on-premises location because it's just less expensive to manage it on premises, or I want to move it to another cloud because I found a better deal with the cloud provider. I don't know. So all these technologies are really important now and are making storage more relevant than ever. I mean, so the idea of having this data management, data services to have access to your data whenever you need it, that's becoming a key. And yes, hardware is still the commodity that was, that we are seeing more and more and more. But if you see also among the traditional storage vendors, the most successful vendors at the moment are those that are building on top of on-premises infrastructure and cloud, and they are finding way to take advantage of all of this different environment, and to make it seamless for you to move data, access data, and etc. etc. So that's the idea that I have.
Very cool. Um, so I'm going to stop us here. I just want to mention a few of our reports. This has been actually, for me, it's been a slow week. Sorry, Enrique, I know you're jealous when I say that, but trust me, next week is going to be more than crazy enough to make up for it. While you're enjoying kite surfing, my fingers will be bleeding from putting in new reports. Uh, we have a new radar report from Alistair Cook called the GigaOm Radar for Privileged Access Management, and one from Chris Grundeman and Ivan McPhee called the GigaOm Radar for Evaluating Secure Service Access. So two new radars, both kind of working in the security space, talking about how to make sure your data and your everything is more secure and safe. However, we do have another one that I believe is going to be published before the end of today. Enrico, you'll already be putting on your sunscreen and grabbing your board. But your report, written with Max Mortiaro, the GigaOm Radar for Kubernetes Data Storage Native Solutions, should be going live today. Um, so lots of cool stuff. And again, next week is going to be, uh, to use the technical term, bonkers. That's all. That's all. We had some webinars this week. You can check those out. Without, we're out of time. Uh, Thank you, Enrico, for joining me today. With Jason out of pocket, it's nice to have someone to chat with. If you want to, you can follow Enrico on Twitter at esignoretti, and continue this conversation or any data storage conversations you'd like to. You can also find Enrico on LinkedIn at Enrico Signoretti. You can find us at GigaOm, LinkedIn, Twitter, or preferred method, go to gigaom.com where you can find all of our blogs, our podcasts. You can find our webinars, both upcoming, and you can watch the video on demand for past webinars. You can also subscribe to the full breadth of research that we've done. All of these reports I mentioned every single week, they're all on gigaom.com and available for you to download and read and learn everything that our analysts are putting out there. It's amazing research, really insightful stuff. So I highly recommend going to gigaom.com for all of your future forward advice. With that, Enrico, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.
And everyone else out there, whether it's morning, evening, or afternoon, have